right from the time that the schedules, potential options came out, we did 2 flow charts, this happens if, and then we knew by the time we get today that our schedule was set.
And then going to last night, Matthew Tkachuk, TNT broadcast, I don't know if you saw the highlights, watched the game. I know the hockey game was not at the same time, but just in your mind, someone that's been around the game a long time, what does that mean just for the sport in general, just to get a guy in a spot like that?
It's a great tie-in, right? And I saw pieces of it. He's so good, right? I mean, those guys are too. I mean, I tune in to watch that show, even not for the basketball, just because they're funny and smart, and it's a great tie-in to expose some people that maybe it's not a traditional hockey market, to the people, the personalities. That's really important to see somebody like Matthew. He's good, right? He's good at it, and it's natural. That's him. There's no act there. He's just. It's good for fans, and then hopefully new fans to get to know the players a little bit.
The Heat penalty kill need a little work.
I'm not critiquing that. You guys go ahead.
In '96, the Panthers won in Pittsburgh, got on a plane, flew to Denver, had to play Monday night a day later.
Yeah.
You guys now have 10 days off. You had time off between round. Is this good, or is it? Would you much rather play in 3 days than have all this time off?
None of the things that you would normally have wanted to have happen has happened to us, and they've all turned out good. So be careful what you wish for. So we've just decided not to wish for anything, just take what it is. So the positive for us is we do have players that are healing, and we've also got guys that quadruple overtime game. There was a cost to it for both teams, and I don't think that you get to recover from that until the series is over. As hard as that series was played, it the idea of a game 5 and a game 6, they start to, so that the time, it is our challenge as well. There's a big block of time off, and how do you stay sharp? But I would take the rest over worrying about how sharp we're going to be in game 1.
And it's safe to say you guys played 5 or 6 games in that 4-game series. Correct?
No, we weren't short on ice time. Yeah, we I mean, I think the Barkov missing those 3 was directly related to 45 minutes and something like 55 face-offs against Jordan Staal. And then he's fine and ready to go. So in some ways, he was the most rested guy in game 4. Everybody else was beat up. The rest off, and then that was a hard gap series, highly intensely played in 5-foot areas the entire game. So we are taking the rest.
Probably hard to exactly quantify, but how much recovery can happen in the middle of the playoffs with 10 days off? Because you always hear about people everyone's playing with something these days. Does that kind of stuff
I would
have
say
time to heal?
how much, it's all relative, more than if you're not. So recovery is the key, is a better word than rest, right? Because we want to be actively involved in that recovery. We're mindful of, I think, almost being on the ice too much at this time will flatten you out more than keep you sharp, right? You want to be on the ice and intense and excited about skating. So recovery on our off days from the work from the day before, and then you want to keep the mental excitement about being on the ice.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you thought of the officiating in the Heat game, but we'll leave that for later. But no, just, I mean...
I'm not getting fined in 2 sports in the same year, so just keep it to hockey.
Just, I know, you're preparing for either team, but can you talk a little bit about, I mean, you do have a special relationship with Pete DeBoer, and just talk a little bit about how, the genesis of that, and when you see how successful he's been, just from the beginnings to where he's come to now.
So Pete and I played junior together. We were roommates together. We coached together. We stood in each other's weddings. We're each a godfather to one of the kids, and in some ways started. He was still in junior when I went to the NHL, but started professionally coaching, basically what you do for a living, at the same time for the last, our first year together would have been 93. So we're closing in on a long time of coaching. And then I can't say for my impact on him, but he's had a really big impact on me in being able to share things that head coaches go through. And when you have that kind of relationship, you can share deeply about, our different our personalities are quite different and quite similar, the same. He has an incredible ability to very quickly to get to a problem and then not spend a whole lot of time agonizing about anything else. Very, very quick mind. So we're like kind of constantly cheering for each other. It's funny when our two teams over the years have gotten and played each other. It's some of the worst hockey we either have ever seen. There was a game in San Jose that was so bad we had agreed after that it was probably the worst game ever played in the NHL. But we both have very similar, because we started coaching together, I think both ideas of what's most important for your team, how you want to play. We play different. We run different systems, but our neutral zone is based on actually one that he ran in Jersey years ago. So we swapped ideas consistently over the years, and then tailored them to our own team. He's a very bright man. I'm general manager and head coach of the Detroit Junior Red Wings, and I might be 26 at the time, 27 at the time. So he's my assistant, but basically, I didn't know what I was doing. He didn't know it. So we were just doing it all together, and he was going to law school at the same time. So he'd go to law school all day, show up at the rink, we'd run practice. He never missed a game, he never missed a practice, and still graduated. Very, very bright man.
So you've met.
We are acquainted.
It was a million plays ago by now, but other than oh bleep, do you remember your mindset when Marchand was breaking in on Bob to end Game 5, or potentially end Game 5?
I do remember, and I was. So I got different words. My moment of that wasn't the breakaway. I thought Ekblad was going to sweep that thing into the net, because he didn't miss the post by much. So I for whatever reason, maybe you get behind the bench and you see something happen on the ice and there's really nothing you can do about it, right? Other than, why were our D so wide on that? But no, I actually felt calm when he's going down the ice. And then, but Aaron didn't seem too concerned by it, but he missed the post by about 4 inches on that. There was a little bit of a pause.
Just a quick follow-up to Mike's question with Pete. Did you pick his brain at all when the idea of joining the Panthers came up?
No, it would have been after, because he had coached here. Just kind of, well, I'd been to his house when he lived here. I think he lived in Weston. So my wife and I had been to see Pete and Sue and spent some time there. More about where to live kind of stuff, and excitement and stuff like that. He'd already been named the Dallas coach at that point in time, so he was moving too. And so we talk all the time. We get together at the draft all the time, and then we haven't caught each other in the summers. Your kids get to different parts of the world, so that changes where you are. But yeah, he's just a great, because I trust his brain so much, he's just a great source of information for me. Right, and then I'd like to think I am for him as well. But we talk hockey and the way the game's changing quite a bit.
When he was here, this is a completely different organization.
Yeah.
The new owners, Dale's not. I mean, he seemed really, really, really happy for you to take
Yes.
over this organization as it stands now. You are not rebuilding, right? I mean,
Correct.
you were coming into a pretty good situation.
Right. What was the conversation we had? We had one in January. We're just talking about, and this was more his point, the difficulty of the task here this year. When you have a certain style of game that rings out 122 points, you change your players, but still the perception is, why don't you just skate with 5 guys down the ice and score? So we talked about that challenge. He understood it really well. And we actually kind of talk more about, so Pete comes out of Major Junior, where he's wildly successful, wins a Memorial Cup, but it's a big jump. And this team had some challenges at the time. It was young. But it would be this idea. You come here and you don't have a tremendous amount of success, except the next job you get is for Lou Lamoriello in New Jersey, which tells you that you did a really, really good job with what you had, because the people in the hockey world who can assess teams, and it's not wins and losses, we got to fire the bum and get a new coach. The powers that be recognize that, and then he comes out of New Jersey to a powerful team in San Jose because they know he's got the experience to handle it, and then goes to a powerful team in Vegas. And he's, I think he's conference champion, or got to the conference finals with each of his teams, and so he's a good coach. But I think he was almost in the perfect spot in Florida to start a career at a major junior. You can come in, mold. The expectations weren't high. You do have to get a team to work hard and be good and be competitive. But when your first tour in the NHL, you are truly learning on the fly. It's a different game. Major, junior, these guys are making $40, $50 a week. You've got the power. You've got the hammer as the coach. You get here, you might be the lowest paid employee. Years ago you were, and it's a different animal. So he got to learn here, and he's also really good, and the people in the hockey world knew that.